Okay, big question again. What about the soundtrack? I mean, we're well past. Hey, Steve, we're kind of a little bit past the 25th anniversary, right?
Yes, we are.
All right. Actually, I'll let him talk about this a little bit. We were originally going to plan this for a 3-disc set, but we found something mysterious. Steve talked about it last year. We found so much content, it wasn't even going to fit on 3 discs anymore.
So the problem was every time we find another tape and then we do some remastering work on it, then a few months later we find another tape and then we do remastering work on that. And so I think now we've gotten to the point where we've gotten as much as we're going to find, you know, hopefully for a long time. So I think we've got everything that we're realistically going to find. So we've remastered all that, and we're hoping maybe later this year we'll finally have a full soundtrack release. Yeah.
How many of you remember when Steve showed this picture for the very first time last year? Okay, we had found this mysterious tape last year, and they were both labeled with the same job number, and they both had the same track listing on the cover. So if you look there, they looked like it was even in the same handwriting by the same recording engineer, and they had the same contents, and we were wondering, what the heck is on this other tape? Why is one 1/2 inch thick, and why is one 2 inches thick? And so what we discovered, after it was recorded, we had it restored by the engineer who actually did work on restoring some of the original tapes for the folks who worked on Chicago, you know, if you know that 70s band. So this guy really knows his stuff in terms of archival materials. And this is what Steve ended up finding, is every single instrument, every single sound had its own individual track. And what that gives us, we thought about what to do with all this. He was able to do a better mix working with these materials. But what we ended up with now, which we couldn't do before with some tracks, is now we have karaoke versions. So we can now lift out the vocals. And actually, let me give you a little snippet here. This is something that we didn't have available last year, and this is now available on this EP. That's available now, and we actually have a few with us. This is the We Will Win EP. The way we decided to start releasing it is we ended up with so much material that we dedicated one CD just to all the variants of We Will Win. Because, actually here, listen to what we got. We actually had the original sessions in which we even hear the recording engineers and the musicians talking back and forth to one another.
All right, The Way to Love. Take one. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Steve actually let you hear a snippet of it unmixed. This was just a raw capture from those tapes. We actually had it re-engineered, remixed, and it sounds great. It sounds like classic Robotech, but this is actually a song that was never in any of the original soundtrack releases before. Because this song, The Way to Love, was actually only sung by Lancer. And so now we have a mid-May version of a song that was not released before. And also we got one other, which is now we even, with the different versions of We Will Win, we even have guitar solos that we didn't have before. this mysterious third stanza of We Will Win. Some of you know that was an existence of We Will Win with a third verse. There were some versions that were on the internet, a low-quality version that had actually come from one of Reba West's personal audio cassette tapes. What had happened was, we discovered about the existence, like more evidence of this, when we were doing work on Robotech: The Shadow Chronicles. We found Alpio Minucci's original handwritten sheet music for We Will Win, and he had written 3 verses for it. So it was originally written in line with 3 verses, but when it was recorded, it was just down to 2. And then the third verse was recorded separately, but now finally we were able to actually have the long version of the song on the CD. Now, the interesting question was why it was actually trimmed down, and I actually asked Alpio's son, Keely Minucci, and when he had gone through and heard the song, he said this was way too long for a traditional, a single music release. And he just thought it just came down to simply tradition, and Alpio just simply exercising editorial control in terms of just trimming it down. So we now have a remastered version of the original release, and we have a long version. And so all the different versions of We Will Win, it's now on this CD, and it's available now. And also, for those of you who are into the really obscure Robotech music,
you guys recognize the cover?
Yeah. How many of you are children of the 80s? If you get it, then you know. Yeah. And if you open the cover on the inside, there's even another gag. For those of you who are really into that stuff.
It's you I miss. It's you who's on my mind. It's you I cannot live.
Okay, that was from the the Robotech Master series, so I noticed a lot fewer people recognize it. Okay, all right. Here's another song, which gets even a little bit more obscure, but we finally found the original pieces for it. That had not been released before, and music-wise, so we finally pieced together the elements for that. Now, one other thing that fans had actually complained to us from previous soundtrack releases was that the music for the Sentinels was actually incomplete. What had happened is that because it was a salvage job, a lot of elements for the Sentinels got lost, misclassified. We couldn't find a lot of elements for the Sentinels again. But when we were doing a lot of this piecing work before, putting a lot of the elements back together, we did find some of it, and we're glad to say that one of the most requested songs for the Sentinels, we actually found it. If you remember, this is the Alpha Beta Fighter accident scene. So we actually have the music for that finally. So that will actually come out in a release later this year. We're actually, our next major release that's scheduled, we're going to schedule it to tie in with a home video release. So we don't have an exact date for you yet, but we'll have an announcement soon on the date. So that's actually what we're doing. We're tying everything together in for another push that we're working on. And actually, that's where we're going to go next. Oh yeah, and before I go any further, a lot of you have asked, how many of you are aware of the live-action film? This has been in development for several years now.
Oh God.
Okay. So the project is still at Warner Brothers. Okay, everybody wonders, why is it taking so long? Transformers made $1 gazillion. But one of the things that's very important to us, and very important with Robotech, is the story is important to us. And one of the things that, you've seen examples of films that were really, really rushed out to production. And the thing is, they spent $200 million on it, and the script just blows. And the thing is, it's kind of like one of those Batman Begins situations. Even if it takes many, many years since, for the film to get done, we'd rather be patient and actually have a script that works. And the thing is, we've got many, of the top industry folks working on the script right now. And the thing is, we're not going to rush any of them. They're welcome to take as long as they need until the script is ready. And here's actually the folks that we've got working on it. And we'll just go down the line. If those of you haven't seen these names before, Mckeever, he's well known for being the producer of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I Am Legend, the Will Smith action movies. Jason Netter, who most recently produced Wanted and has been working on Wanted 2. That's the film that had Angelina Jolie on it. And Tobey Maguire. Some of you know him as that Marvel superhero. But he's also well known as being a producer. His film, Seabiscuit, got 7 Academy Award nominations. Now, the writer's also associated with it. Lawrence Kasdan, he did work on Empire Strikes Back and Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was one of the first people that they brought on board. And then Alfred Gauss, Miles Miller, the gentleman who worked on Spider-Man 2, and also Tom Rock-Smith, best-selling author. They've all been working on different aspects of the script. And there's also more. The thing is, we don't respond officially, to rumors and innuendo. But if you Google Variety and everything, there's evidence coming out of Warner's that folks are working on it. We can't comment, confirm nor deny, but we can confirm that Robotech is in development at Warner Brothers Pictures, and they also have the merchandising rights for this attached to it. And this is a very good company to do that because, as we mentioned before, they've also handled merchandising for Harry Potter. Now, biggest question of all, what about Moroder? There was Shadow Rising. Well, actually, there is Shadow Rising. That's the project that we were working on next. However, to say that Carl Mason's passing has affected us at Harmony Gold would be an understatement. Our plan was to split work with Carl, have Carl come aboard. And of course, one of the things that was very important to us was that after Carl passed, we had to take care of the projects that he had started and take care of those first, such as the Making of Robotech documentary. And actually, here is the other project that Carl had actually wanted to start work with. We had just started putting together the framework of this project. But we were, unfortunately, it's very sad that Carl is unable to be with us during the journey on this project. But I want to show you a little example here. What you're seeing here is actually a close-up of a frame of how many of you have ever heard of a Japanese OVA called Maspida Love Live Alive? Okay, so a good chunk of you here, but not all of you. How many of you are aware that Maspida is new generation? Okay, now a much bigger chunk of you. When Harmony Gold licensed Maspida from Tatsunoko back in the 80s, they didn't license all of it. They licensed the original run of the series, but they didn't license the OVA of Maspida, also known as Love Live Alive. Now, one of the things we did was we got the materials from Tatsunoko, and lo and behold, we were unsurprised to find out that it was in bad shape. In the sense that it needed to undergo a remastering process, just like the rest of Robotech did. Just like the work we had done with Robotech Sentinels and the original series. And so, this is just another close-up, just to show the work we were doing behind the scenes, is we're doing a digital remaster of the original Japanese Maspida. We are doing what's known as an inverse. We're bringing the frame rate of the series back to the original frame rate of the film, which is 24 frames per second, instead of the interlaced picture, so it'll look great on up-converted televisions on your HD TVs. And also, we're doing the remaster process to make the picture much cleaner, noise-free, grain-free, and damage-free. We're doing damage removal, the whole 9 yards, just like the original Robotech. And actually, we'll show you a little example here. of the work we had done, the underlying work. You'll notice a little bit of stutter in pans because the frame rate of interlaced television does not exactly match that of film. And you'll notice little edit cuts because they were hand edited with the blade back then.
Diego, 明日もオーバーベースするなよ。目いっぱいな。
Now here, we're cleaning up the picture. You'll notice the colors are more saturated. The contrast is much richer than before. And actually, if you see this on a big flat screen, you'll notice much less noise than before. And the edit damage is also good. Now, I know one thing that fans love is it's old school 80s, but it's stuff you haven't seen before. And here's the nice thing, it's old school 80s OVA quality. So it looks better than just the run-of-the-mill television quality. But also, one of the things that was important for us is we had to do a very thorough edit on this because it was a Japanese storyline, which was Maspida. And it was also put together, we looked at the original, and it was actually kind of light on plot. And this was something that Carl was very aware of, in that it was largely more or less a music video. If any of you are familiar with Macross 2012, is lots of pretty pictures, but light on plot. And so one of the things that Carl said when he looked at it, and this was part of one of the reasons it was not put into production earlier, because it was nice on visuals, light on plot. Carl's response was just simply, let's pull a data story on it, which is, we got good raw materials, but let's put it through the blender, let's chop it up, retime it, re-edit it, tell a completely different story from scratch, and make it fit within the Robotech continuity. And from that standpoint, it actually made a lot of sense. And also, one of the issues that we came up with was what to call it. When we had typical marketing people, we were trying to communicate this title to. They would think, Love, Live Alive, isn't that a little kind of quirky? These funky Japanese titles. And they were just brainstorming the heck out of it. They were trying to figure out what kind of alternate title to give it, like Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Crossdresser. But in the end, the title that just fit the best, because the hardcore Robotech fans know the title. It's just Robotech Love, Live Alive. That's the right thing to call it. And actually here, we have a little segment that was actually initially put together for the Making of Robotech documentary, and we'll show this to you. And this is a little discussion about the work that goes into the process of making Love, Live Alive possible. So here we go.
There's some buzz going around that we might be recording some material in which Lancer plays an integral part. There's some found, lost footage as well as some new footage that's going to be employed in the project. And kind of a tribute to following through with the last thing that Carl wanted to put together.
Carl, being a character person, had a great idea which makes Robotech Love, Live Alive possible. This was something that Carl had in mind since 1986. We had done our research and we found that there was some material in Japan that had never been brought over into the United States. And Carl looked back on what he had done with Robotech and he said, well, let's do what we did with Robotech, is let's adapt the story, let's rewrite all the transitions to make it work within the Robotech universe, and let's do what we did with Dana's story, which is one episode that was completely edited from scratch to make it a transitionary episode to tie the three series together. He said, let's do a Dana story on Love, Live Alive. Let's take it and let's make it longer. and let's make it a much more substantial story, so it's not just a big long music video. So we have a powerful story underneath it, and so that it has consequences for the characters. This is going to be old-fashioned Robotech from the 80s, and we're very honored that this is going to be Carl's final project, a wonderful, beautiful sayonara to the fans.